Geno Auriemma's critics? Caitlin Clark just silenced every last one of them. Not with a subtweet, not with a shade-filled quote, but with a signature on a short-term contract that said, "I don't need your system. I'm the system now." And the ripple effects are seismic. This wasn't just a basketball decision. It was a cultural moment, a seismic power shift from the traditional institutions of the sport to the players who are finally calling their own shots.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
It was Clark drawing a line in the hardwood and saying, "This is where things change." When Clark refused to sign with Geno Auriemma's new league, a highly publicized, high-stakes project that was supposed to recenter the power of women's basketball, it wasn't just a pass on a paycheck. It was a full-blown, drop-the-mic rejection of everything he stood for. Let's not forget, Geno isn't just some random coach. He is, or was, the face of women's college basketball royalty, the man behind UConn's dynasty, the name that echoed through decades of dominance. For years, if you weren't playing for Geno, you were playing from behind. But Caitlin Clark? She never needed his validation. And more importantly, she never asked for it. She was the kid who got overlooked, who didn't fit the mold, who didn't get the invite to UConn, who didn't go knocking on Geno's door when she could have. And now she's the one selling out arenas, breaking records, elevating women's basketball into mainstream, prime-time culture. Now, let's break it all down, because this wasn't just a contract. It was a playbook for independence. Instead of locking herself into a long-term commitment that would have tied her to an old-school structure, Caitlin signed a bold 8-week deal. Think about that. 8 weeks. Just enough time to make her mark, collect the bag, show her worth, and walk away if it doesn't fit her vision. That's not just confidence. That's control. In a sport that has long been controlled by legendary coaches, old institutions, and legacy programs, Clark just reminded everyone that the future doesn't belong to the gatekeepers. It belongs to the ones who open their own damn gates. And here's where it gets poetic. Years ago, when she was coming out of high school, Geno didn't offer her. Passed on her. Said not for us. Maybe it was fit. Maybe it was politics. Maybe he just didn't see it. Whatever it was, it aged like a glass of milk in the sun. Because now, Caitlin Clark is the future of women's basketball. She's the face on the billboard, the topic of every sports show, the player who can move the needle in real time. And now Geno wants her in his new project. Suddenly, it's his pitch deck with her name circled. It's his people reaching out. It's his league looking for credibility, relevance, and, let's be real, ratings. And Clark? She said no thanks. Without drama. Without revenge. Just clean. Crisp. Cold-blooded. And Geno? That aura of invincibility he spent decades building? It cracked. Because here's the truth. Saying no to power is power. And Clark just reminded an entire generation of athletes, especially young women, that their worth isn't determined by institutions or coaches. It's determined by what they choose to do with their talent. She didn't just take control of her career. She reclaimed the narrative. And if you think this moment wasn't calculated, think again. Caitlin Clark knows exactly what she's doing. She's not chasing a crown. She's building her own kingdom. Let's zoom out for a second, because the bigger picture here is massive. This isn't just about her. This is about every player who was told they weren't marketable enough. Every athlete who got overlooked because they didn't fit the system. Every girl who was told, if you don't play for X, you'll never make it. Caitlin Clark just lit that script on fire. She's the blueprint now. She's the proof that you don't have to play for UConn, that you don't need to kiss the ring of the old coaches, that you don't have to play politics to be the star. You just have to ball and control your story. And let's talk about that story. Because what's more satisfying than watching someone rise without the safety net? Clark didn't take the easy path. She took the one that came with doubt, scrutiny, pressure. She's carried teams on her back, turned doubters into fans, and let her game do the talking, always. And when the media tried to bait her into the usual drama, she refused. No clapbacks, no petty shots, just poise, focus, execution, over and over again. When Geno minimized her impact, said she wasn't doing anything new, and shaded her fans for just now tuning in to women's basketball. She didn't snap back. She didn't post some cryptic, "watch me work" tweet. She just kept winning. Because Caitlin Clark isn't here for legacy talk. She's writing it. And that's what's scaring the old guard. She's not playing by their rules, and she's still dominating the game. Let's be real. This league was never ready for someone like her. Not just because she's talented, but because she's untouchable. Not in the invincible way, but in the free way. She's not tied to a legacy coach. Not stuck in a system. Not waiting for someone to hand her a torch. She's already sprinting with it. And now the blueprint's out there. The Geno-approved path isn't the only one. The system doesn't hold all the power. The game belongs to the players now. And Clark just lit that fire for the next generation. Because while Geno's busy trying to hold on to control, Caitlin Clark just showed everyone that the most revolutionary act in sports is knowing when to walk away. From a noise, from a tradition, from the offers that don't align with your vision. And here's the best part. She didn't have to yell. She didn't have to tweet. She didn't even need to explain herself. She just played, and played better than anyone expected. Rookie of the Year, MVP conversations, sellouts, television deals, a fan base that is obsessed, young girls wearing her jersey in arenas that never used to be full. She did it her way, and she's still just getting started. So let's be clear, this isn't the end of a chapter. It's the beginning of a new book, one where players run the narrative, where women's basketball gets the respect and money it's long deserved, where talent, hustle, and independence rewrite the rules. Caitlin Clark didn't just sign a contract. She signed a manifesto. And Geno? Well, he just got benched in his own revolution. So, now it's your turn. What do you think? Was Clark's rejection of the old guard a power move for the ages? Did Geno underestimate the new era of women's basketball? And more importantly, are we witnessing the start of a player-first revolution in sports? Drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe for more breakdowns, and keep watching, because the next era of women's basketball isn't being coached, it's being claimed. And Caitlin Clark? She just claimed it. This isn't just about Caitlin Clark saying no to Geno's offer. It's about her rewriting what yes even means in this sport. Because for decades, yes meant playing by the rules. The unspoken ones, the coded ones. Yes meant accepting your place in the system, smiling for the cameras, and being grateful for whatever attention women's sports could get. Yes meant going through the right programs, winning for the right coaches, shining, but not too bright, not enough to threaten the hierarchy. But Clark, she just blew all that to smithereens. Her yes isn't about obeying tradition. It's about owning opportunity. She's not climbing the ladder someone else built. She's building a whole new arena with her name on the entrance and her logo at center court. And yeah, maybe it feels dramatic. Maybe it sounds like we're overstating it. But we're not. Because in a landscape where so many women athletes still have to fight just to be seen, just to be heard, what Caitlin Clark just did is revolutionary. Let's rewind to that initial snub from UConn. Back when she was still just a high school star in Iowa, dropping jaws with every pull-up three and every court-length assist. Geno saw her and passed. Let's not sugarcoat it. He didn't think she fit. Maybe it was stylistic. Maybe it was about control. Maybe he just didn't see her becoming this. Whatever it was, it's one of the coldest misreads in recent basketball history. Because now, she's not just a star. She's the moment, the future, the one whose name sells. And the irony? Geno tried to bring her into the fold after the fact. After all the clips, after all the viral moments, after the league started bending around her influence. That's when the call came. And Caitlin? She didn't answer it. She didn't need to. Because let's be honest, when you hold all the cards, you don't play someone else's game. She's not here to validate someone else's empire. She's here to build her own. That 8-week deal she signed, a short-term, high-value, keep your options open kind of move, that wasn't just smart, it was iconic. It says, I know my worth, and I don't need to tie myself down to prove it. It says, this isn't forever, it's a feature. And when I'm done, I'll choose my next step. Not because I'm forced, but because I decide. And if you're Geno, that's got to sting a little. Because for so long, He was the decider. He told the story. He picked the players. If you wanted greatness, you went through him. But now, greatness is walking past him. And you can feel it, this generational shift. The old heads are rattled. The new wave is rolling in, and they're not asking permission. They're just taking up space. Caitlin Clark is leading that wave. No drama, no theatrics, just dominance. On the court, she's putting up numbers that demand respect, breaking rookie records, outshining veterans, and doing it with this freakish mix of grace and ferocity, like she's always 5 steps ahead, even when the defense is draped all over her. Off the court, she's commanding attention without chasing it. She's not spilling tea on interviews or firing back at critics. She's letting the numbers, the fans, the movement do the talking. She's not just a hooper. She's a business. And that's the part that really scares the old system. Because she doesn't need them. She doesn't need a blue blood program. She doesn't need legacy approval. She doesn't even need a long-term deal if it doesn't serve her trajectory. She is the value now, the product, the brand. And that shift from being talent to being the decision maker is exactly what Geno's critics have been waiting for. Clark didn't just silence them. She made them irrelevant. Let's go even bigger picture. This moment isn't just about Clark versus Auriemma. It's about players versus patriarchs. Because women's sports, especially basketball, have always been dictated by men in suits. The media moguls, the coaches, the commentators, the execs. They built the gate. And for years, they decided who got in. But Clark, she just walked around it, with a crowd of fans, followers, and future stars trailing behind her. She didn't tear it down. She made it obsolete. And don't think we're done seeing the ripple effects. You're going to see more players asking for short-term contracts. More women saying no to systems that don't serve them. More stars putting their mental health, brand, and power first. Because Clark just proved that you can turn down tradition and still win. Still sell out stadiums. Still lead the highlight reels. Still be that girl. And the message is clear. The sport no longer belongs to the coaches. It belongs to the players. So what happens next? Well, now it's Geno's move. But the problem is the spotlight isn't on him anymore. The system he built, the influence he used to hold, it's not vanishing, but it's shrinking. Because this new era, it doesn't care how many titles you've won or how long you've been at the top. It cares about who's changing the game right now. And right now, that's Caitlin Clark. So let's hand out a fake award before we go. The You Thought I Needed You trophy, presented to Caitlin Clark for gracefully rejecting outdated power structures while simultaneously breaking ankles and the internet. A reminder to all, you don't need to burn bridges when you can build your own damn highway. Caitlin Clark, she's not interested in fitting a mold that was built without her in mind. She's not asking for permission. She's not seeking validation. She's here to show that power no longer trickles down from the top. It radiates outward from the court, from the player, from the pulse of the people. And that's exactly why her no to Geno hit so hard. Because it wasn't angry. It wasn't messy. It wasn't even personal. It was just intentional. And in a world full of contracts, clauses, and carefully worded statements, that kind of quiet defiance, that's a revolution in heels. Or sneakers. Probably sneakers. Now let's talk about what this means for the next generation. Because somewhere right now, there's a 14-year-old girl watching all of this unfold. She's not dreaming of being recruited. She's dreaming of building her brand. She's not worried about whether some coach thinks she's a fit. She's figuring out how to maximize her nil before she hits her senior year. Why? Because Caitlin Clark just proved that being chosen isn't the goal anymore. The goal is to choose yourself. Let's put this into perspective. When LeBron skipped college and went straight to the NBA, the system shook. When Naomi Osaka started skipping press conferences to prioritize her mental health, tennis trembled. When Simone Biles withdrew from the Olympics to protect her peace, the world debated for weeks. These are athletes who changed the game not just with their talent, but with their boundaries, their decisions, their agency. Caitlin Clark belongs in that lineage. Not because she turned down a man's offer, but because she understood the value of her voice, her vision, her platform. She knew what it meant to say no, and she said it anyway. But you know what's even more poetic? She never had to gloat. She never had to rub it in. She didn't post a cryptic "Watch God Work" Instagram story. She didn't hop on live and throw shade. She just kept playing. And while the sports world debated her every decision, while think pieces rolled in and talking heads fired off takes, she stayed locked in. Ball in hand, eyes up, game on. That's the real flex. Because the best revenge, if you can even call it that, is success with silence. Caitlin Clark isn't dragging the old system. She's simply outgrowing it. She's showing that the future doesn't have to scream to be heard. Sometimes, all it takes is a closed door and a signed contract. And suddenly, the narrative shifts. Let's not forget, this isn't someone who walked into the league with a silver spoon. She had to fight for every headline. She had to earn every broadcast. She built her fan base one highlight at a time. One cross-court assist. One buzzer beater. One three-pointer from another zip code. She didn't get here by being anointed. She got here by outworking, outshining, and outlasting everyone who doubted her. And now that she's here, she's not waiting to be crowned. She is the coronation. What Geno didn't understand, and what the rest of the gatekeepers are starting to realize, is that players like Caitlin don't exist to support the machine. They are the machine now. The ticket sales? That's her. The ratings boost? Her. The merch? Her. The millions of new fans tuning in, posting clips, converting their dads into WNBA watchers? Yeah, that's all her. And still, she stays grounded. There's no arrogance in her game. No performative, "I told you so." Just results. Rookie honors. MVP votes. In a growing empire, she doesn't need permission to build. Meanwhile, Geno is left in the position he never thought he'd be in, on the outside looking in. That's what happens when you underestimate someone simply because they didn't choose you. Because make no mistake, Clark didn't need UConn. UConn needed Clark. But she already knew that. She knew it when she walked into sold-out arenas full of people wearing her jersey. She knew it when TV ratings spiked every time she laced up. She knew it when brands lined up, not because of a coach, not because of a school, but because of her. It's not arrogance. It's awareness. She understood the power she holds, and she wielded it quietly, strategically, unapologetically. The torch has been passed, not ceremoniously, not with a handshake and a farewell speech, but with a sigh of irrelevance from the old guard and the boom of footsteps walking straight past them. So what does this mean for the future of the game? It means coaches will have to adjust. It means agents will rethink how they structure deals. It means leagues will scramble to stay relevant to the stars they use to dictate terms to. Because when one player can generate this much attention, this much money, this much cultural relevance without needing the traditional system, that system starts to feel outdated. And this isn't just about Caitlin Clark anymore. This is about what she represents. A new model, a new movement, a new era where women athletes aren't just part of the conversation, they're leading it. She's not playing checkers. She's not even playing chess. She's writing the rule book to a game we haven't seen before. And if that makes people uncomfortable, good. Change is supposed to feel like that. A little loud, a little jarring, a little out of control. But guess what? The players are in control now. And if Caitlin Clark's career is any indication, we're just getting started. So here's the question. What happens when the game catches up to the player? What happens when the future isn't waiting in the wings? It's already on the court, knocking down logo threes and rewriting contracts. What happens when every young athlete watching says, "I want to be like Caitlin Clark," not just on the court, but at the negotiating table in the boardroom behind the camera? We're about to find out. Because the era of being grateful for crumbs is over. This is the era of being unapologetically hungry for the whole damn cake. And Clark? She's not just taking a slice. She's opening her own bakery. So let's keep watching. Because this isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about power. It's about presence. It's about a player who knew exactly who she was, even when the system tried to tell her she wasn't enough. And now the system's learning what it feels like to be left behind. That's the thing about Caitlin Clark. Her power doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being unavoidable. You can disagree with the hype. You can nitpick the turnovers. You can roll your eyes at the media coverage. But you can't not watch her. You can't ignore her. You can't pretend she didn't just shift the tectonic plates of women's sports with a single wordless move. And now the league, the coaches, the institutions, they're all playing catch-up. Because the balance of power has officially tilted. It's no longer in the hands of those who hold clipboards and wear championship rings from the early 2000s. It's in the hands of the athletes who are actually out here building the sport. The players who make it cool. The ones who bring in new fans. Who understand branding, storytelling, movement. Who know that performance is only half the job. The other half is ownership. Of your time, your narrative, your worth. Clark isn't playing to be accepted. She's playing to be remembered. And she will be. Not just for the buzzer beaters or the stat lines, but for this moment. This exact, calm, calculated refusal to let someone else's vision box her in. Because saying no isn't just about turning something down. It's about saying yes to yourself. Yes to control. Yes to independence. Yes to writing a story without a co-author standing over your shoulder. That's what Geno and the rest of the old system never saw coming. They built a machine that was never designed for players like Clark. So she built something else. And now she's not the exception. She's the example. The future of women's basketball isn't waiting in line. It's creating its own path. Microphone in hand, audience on deck, and absolutely no patience for outdated hierarchies. So here's to the no that echoed louder than 1,000 yes. Here's to the moment everything shifted. And here's to Caitlin Clark, who didn't just play the game. She changed it. What do you think? Has Caitlin Clark shattered the mold for what it means to be a modern athlete? Is the old guard officially on its last leg? Let us know in the comments. Smash that subscribe if you live for the chaos, the comebacks, and the cultural power moves that shake up the world of sports. Because this isn't just a game anymore. This is a revolution.